Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am doing a walkthrough of my DJ setup at home. I've had a lot of messages about the mixer especially, the Technics, the CDJs and what speakers I have. Today I'm going to walk you through everything I've got, when I bought it, why I bought it, and just give you a bit more of an insight into what it's like for me when I'm DJing at home and playing records. So first I am going to tell you about the speakers. They are the Klipsch 41 PM. I got these after being recommended them from Ryan Murray. I've never actually heard of the brand before, but as you can tell, they look sick. And I got this area in which my decks are set up refurbed last year, and I decided that black and yellow KRKs were not going to be good enough to be in here. I wanted it more aesthetically pleasing, and I went for them. And it turns out they're actually Bluetooth, which has been an absolute game changer because I've got my kitchen over there, and it's resulted in me listening to way more music, just albums and, you know, even mixes and things like that. And I never really noticed how little music I actually listen to at home until I got these. And the only downside of them is they have not got a massive frequency response. I'm going to make something pop up on the screen here which shows you the frequency response, which basically means they're not that bassy. That's in human terms. So this led me to having to buy a subwoofer. I knew the solution would be a sub, but I didn't really want to spend another 400 quid. These monitors were around 400, I think. Subwoofer was another 400, so it turned out to be quite an expensive investment. But I would say it was 100% worth it just because of the Bluetooth. In terms of like DJing on them, KRKs were probably better, but now I'm definitely thinking of this as more of a whole living experience. And yeah, I would recommend them if you can listen to all kinds of music, but if it's just purely for DJing, I'd maybe just go for the KRKs. And the subwoofer is just below. Honestly, it sounds like a club when that is on, but you can also imagine above, below, next door. It then sounds like there's an earthquake next door. So super bassy, but in terms of how they look, they're unreal. And they are resting on Vogel bookshelf stands. They are from Amazon. These are about 20 quid and they drill into the wall. So I would only recommend doing them if you're handy with a drill or something similar to get them in the wall. As you can imagine, or maybe you can't imagine, but I'm not the best when it comes to DIY handiwork stuff. I stick to the music, so luckily a builder did it for me, and they're really sturdy and they look sick. The only thing which is annoying is this cable. I need to get one of those white sleeves that kind of covers the cable. But yeah, the speakers just slot straight in, then you screw them back. I've not actually tried to get them out yet, which could be a problem, and I think they do leave a slight mark on the front. But in terms of aesthetics, again, I really want these to look good and not be on just normal stands. So next we come to the CDJs. These are the Pioneer XDJ 1000 Mark IIs. I've had these for around 3 years and they are awesome. I don't really use my CDJs much at home, but they are the same as the Nexus but without the CD. And I actually don't know anyone that still plays CDs. Maybe you're nodding your head saying you play CDs, but they are very impractical. They scratch. Well, I know vinyl scratch, but CDs even worse. They connect via an Ethernet cable, so you can link them. They've got all this capabilities of a Nexus. Someone maybe can correct me on a few things they're missing, but who actually uses them anyway? I don't. So that is them. I used to have the 800s, which were just CDs. So I did have a pack of CDs that had tons and tons of tunes on, which I've now lost. But yeah, USBs, what a game changer. Who could imagine life without them? So then we come on to the turntables. These are the Technic 1210 Mark II, the most iconic turntable going. I think people always ask me, is there an alternative? No. I've used the Pioneer ones before, and even them, they are just not up to scratch. I think just the pitch adjust is just feels different on these compared to other ones. I've used those, can't remember the name now, Newmark ones. Hopefully no Newmark ambassadors are watching this video and thinking of signing me up, because I'm not interested, because their goods are just inferior to the Technics and the Pioneer. And then on them, we have got the Autophon needles. These are the DJ Pro Mark IIs, I think. If I don't quite get the name of anything here, it will be attached below and come on the screen. So yeah, these needles, I actually got them again because they look smart as fuck. When this room got done, I was like, right, I want everything to look sick, the smallest little details. I used to have the normal Autophons and they were wearing out a bit, so I was like, right, time to upgrade, and got these. And I think you'll agree, the black and yellow is smart as hell. But yeah, you can replace the end of them as well, and yeah, worth the investment. A good set of needles. I think when I played before on needles that are worn out, they do not sound nearly as good. So next we come on to the main piece of the show, the Towler 4 mixer. This is insane. It is actually handmade. I will attach in the description the company that make them, but they make them to order, and it is a rotary mixer. One thing I would say is that if you're thinking of getting a rotary mixer, you should definitely try one out before you buy one. I played in Sweden for an amazing night called Kiosk, and they had the rain mixer there, this massive one, and it was the first time ever playing on the mixer, and I had such a good time. The way I can explain it, it's almost like you're blending ingredients in a bowl opposed to just smashing them out. It's just a sophisticated way of mixing, I feel. It's definitely not the superior way. I will still choose an XO92 in a nightclub, but like I've said, a lot of this setup was to do with aesthetics, rightly or wrongly, and someone tell me that does not look sick. The wooden panels, just everything about it is super slick. The knobs feel amazing, and yeah, it was a really good investment. The only thing which I would say is annoying is there is a massive square power block. You know, like the old school things when the cable goes into a big square, and that is the only downside of the mixer. But it's took some getting used to, because I got this mixer in last summer. I've got to say, I didn't really do any sessions on it, you know, real big nights with the boys and mixing a lot of records. And I feel like the best way to get good at DJing is putting in the time on the decks. There's no two ways about it. It's like anything in life, practice makes things permanent, and you've really got to put time in to doing these kind of things to make them stick. And after some lengthy sessions with the boys, I've really now feel really comfortable on it. Recorded some mixes that helped, but it's such a good example of, with DJing, because I've done it for so long now, I don't really have to go over the basics. Obviously you've got to stay on top of it, mixing regularly, but I don't have to spend every night of the week making sure I can still mix. But it was kind of a reminder, just get back into it, put the hours in, and then you kind of realise how I got good in the first place, and it was just repetition, mixing a lot of records. And yeah, it's something I'd recommend, but I would definitely test one out before you buy one, because it's a whole new way of mixing. Check out Master Sounds, they do some good ones, but I'm really a big fan of this. So to explain the mixer in a bit more detail, we have got a 4-channel rotary mixer. And yeah, like in any other mixer, there is channel 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got a 3-point EQ, bass, treble, and mids. The only thing that I would say which threw me off a bit was the mid-range at the top, and we're all used to the treble being at the top. And we've got our sends, we've got the trim, which is the gain, and then we've also got a cool filter here, which is the low, mid, and highs, which is it's really cool actually, and it sounds amazing, and you can really rip the bass on it. And the only downside I would say about having the rotary faders is that you can't kind of rip it as quick as you would do like a channel rip with an XO92. But for all you DJs out there, please note that when you rip the channel down for half a second, it does not usually sound good. So it kind of is a good deterrent to people doing it when they come around for a mix. Most of the time when you're doing it, you probably just had too much to drink and it doesn't sound good. So yeah, we've got the booth volume, we've got the main volume, we've got the monitor mix, the headphone mix. Up there we've got phono, line, phono, line, phono, line, line. I mean, if anyone's got a pair of decks here, that'll be familiar with you. I'm sure if you're watching this, you must have some understanding. And yeah, we've got the send and return there. That will be if you want to external effects. So, you know, you see Corolla with his reverb pedals, that kind of stuff. not that he uses a rotary mixer. And yeah. So next we come on to the unit, the famous Kallax by IKEA. This is like the universal DJ stand. The Swedish, I think it is, IKEA, made this, I don't know when, don't have a clue, but it's not expensive, it's less than 100 quid. And 12-inch records conveniently fit just inside it. And it's funny because people go, how many records have you got? And it's kind of a reference of how many Kallax squares can you actually fill. And this is not my collection here, my collection's over there on the shelf. And it's funny because when the records aren't on these boxes, it doesn't look like that many. I've actually got probably a good one of these full, but it's not on a Kallax, it's on a shelf. But it's a good metric of how to count your records. How many boxes of these have you got? And yeah, it's sturdy, but one thing I would say is it's a tiny bit low. So you either need to get a pair of legs for it, which I used to have, some metal legs. You can get off Amazon, anywhere, and again, handyman with a drill them in. And it comes to a nice height then. They say that decks should be about hip height, I think. So it's kind of like there. Often in clubs, they seem to be a bit higher, I always find. And for a long time, I didn't have legs or anything on the bottom of these. So I was getting used to playing with the decks really low. And I'm not the tallest anyway. So when people came round as well, like some people, if they're taller or they'd be quite low. Well, I think most people have the decks without these, and I got really comfortable with DJing with the decks at that height. And then for Hidden example in Manchester, their turntables are high and they're on concrete slabs. So you've got a pair of decks that are there, plus the concrete slab. You can sometimes be trying to spin records with your arms up here, which can be frustrating because it's a whole different experience. I think DJing is really a feeling and an instinctive thing, especially when you've been doing it for a long time. And I always find that I play my best when I don't have to think about things. And that was the problem when I got this mixer, that I had to then think about bringing records in at different paces. And yeah, when things are just going and you're not thinking about it at the state of flow, it's much easier. And having the turntables at the same height in clubs as they are at home, it's a big thing. And that's something bearing in mind. You want your home setup to really resemble as much a setup in a club, you know? That's why people have these like all-in-one things, but they're just not the same kind of feeling. And even just the way you navigate USB, that it's a ritual, you know? You're going from one place to the other and your hands move, and you want things to kind of transition to be the same in a club. Believe it or not, one of the most asked about things is the CDJ stand. It is the Novo Pro CDJ stand, but just Google CDJ stand and you'll find one that is similar. I will link this one, but honestly, it's just some big metal thing that screws together. The mixer holds it down and the CDJs balance on each side. And yeah, smart bit of kit, but you've got to keep tight with your Allen keys. So yeah, it's good. It saves a bit of space, you see, and you can have the decks underneath. I know a lot of people have the CDJs at the end. But when you've got the CDJs at the end, obviously you've got to either have an extra one of these, or you've got to make something custom made, and it starts to look quite clumpy and wide and takes a lot of space. So yeah, this is something I really like. But the only thing is, sometimes I don't like the decks being at that angle, but you soon get used to them, and I know a lot of clubs have them like that now, so again, it's quite good practice. So the reason I've got these on wheels is because if I decide to have a party or something at home, I can easily wheel them out, and then it's facing this way, and there is a nice area to party in, and it was quite a good move. I did it once, but I feel now that if I have these wheeled out, it feels like they're a bit messy. I like having decks against the wall at home. It feels like a nicer way to mix, especially if you've got people around and you're just chilling. It's much easier just to kind of jam, chat, and it's not that kind of speaking over the decks to people, because I feel it can be kind of annoying for the DJ and the friend involved when you try to ask them a question, you're leaning over the decks and the music's blasting in their face. So guys, that is my DJ setup. If you've got any questions, just comment below and I'll get back to you all. Fairly self-explanatory, and I'll link everything in the description. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.